Oh, the Night Cougs are back. Game day eve, BYU and Stanford will kick off tomorrow night at LaVell Edwards Stadium, 10:15 p.m. Eastern, 8:15 local time. The Cougars, 20.5-point favorites. We discussed that at length yesterday. But in the spirit of classes starting this week and knowing that BYU was such a heavy favorite, Jarom, what would a passing grade performance in the football classroom look like for BYU against Stanford?
Trust me, I know what a passing grade or not looks like given my academic or lack thereof prowess at BYU. To me, a passing grade is just win. Like, it's a Power 4 opponent. Yes, they should beat up on this team. But if BYU won by 1 point and they were 2-0, that would pass for me. If we're talking about minimum thresholds, just win the game. I don't need anything crazy. I don't need this turnover margin, these yards. Just win the game. Just be 2-0. Yes, we would all complain about stuff and say, well, wait a minute, what happened? But if we're just talking about a passing grade, not an A, not an A+, not our best effort in this class, on the curve, none of that. If it's just pass, win the game.
See, I'm throwing in the curve a little bit when I discuss my passing grade.
I didn't see that in the syllabus here.
We have the capability to go where we want with this. You're right, it wasn't in the syllabus, so I took some liberties to throw that in. But, yeah, winning the game, first and foremost, I guess, passes. But
you guess? What do you mean?
When you're a 20.5-point favorite, for fans, that's not going to feel like a passing grade. That's going to feel like a disappointment. It might feel like a D+, but does a D+ qualify as a passing grade?
Trust me, I know it does. You passed the class.
You didn't get an F?
You class.
Okay, see,
they don't do F's here. They do E's here.
You got something other than the worst grade possible?
That. Yeah.
Okay, so I am...
Pass-fail is minimum thresholds.
I'm pulling in more of the emotions of BYU fans and what they might feel like if BYU doesn't hit these minimum thresholds.
Wait, what do you think? Not the fans. What do you think?
I think 17+ is the passing grade, Jarom. I don't see how.
So not cover, but
this is a close game, it's not going to feel like a passing grade. It's going to feel like a D+. And frankly, in some classes at BYU, a D+, not good enough to get to the next thing or advance in your classes.
Hey, we did comms. We weren't here for academics.
I still had to get at least C's. I still had to get at least a C in some of my generals. Like, if you didn't get at least a C, you got a D. You had to take the class again in some of my generals. Okay? So
take easier generals.
At BYU, you have no option. You have no option in certain regards.
Easy general. It's called sports broadcasting, TMA. Thank you, Jason
it's
Parker.
It's an elective.
Scott Hill.
It's an elective.
Yeah.
Okay, we're talking about American Heritage, English 115. You didn't have to take a math class, which was a wise move by you.
No, I didn't.
Okay? But win by 17+. Score at least 30 points, and BYU has 1 turnover or less. Okay? If you want to get...
Sounds like a pretty good game. That doesn't sound like barely passed. That sounds like a pretty good game. That looks like to me, that's like a A or a B right there.
You're not covering. And
right, but you won by 3 scores. You scored 30. You don't really turn it over. You have a good offensive game. Bear throws for 2. That looks pretty good to me. That's a little high.
Jarom, I've got a high standard. I've got a high standard.
Right, but passing grade isn't high standard.
In my opinion, if you don't get at least a C+ or a B-, you don't pass.
Yeah.
You don't pass.
D- is what I was thinking in the context of passing grade.
When has a D- been a passing grade?
In a bunch of my classes, bro. Yeah, I didn't come here for... School got in the way of my education here.
400+ total yards of offense, and I would like to see a little bit more from Bear. Not a ton more, but 200+ total yards from Bear, at least 60% completed passes. That, to me, is a B- and a solid effort. And we're pushing forward. BYU's 2-0, and maybe has a chance to be ranked going into the East Carolina game after the bye week.
Yeah. By the way, I know there was convo on this program / others of people referencing people looking at the box score of BYU Portland State. There wasn't a soul that did that. They just look at the score and move on. They didn't even know that Bear only threw for 97 yards. Heck, there were AP voters that probably didn't know Jake Retzoff wasn't on the team based on how they switched their votes. So
a few didn't get the memo.
No. And if you're voting, you better look a little deeper. We're not asking you to know PFF grades of defenders or anything crazy. We're not looking for offensive ratings. Hey. We're looking for, the means. When you play an FCS team, people just look at margin. But when you play Stanford, people will look at how this happened. So hopefully BYU doesn't just pass. Hopefully they play really well. Okay, next one. Which BYU player for BYU will be top of the class? Perhaps the valedictorian tomorrow against Stanford. I make fun of all of my academic things. I was the valedictorian the Sterling Scholar. I don't even know the name, but I was the Sterling Scholar from my school in a certain thing because no one else applied. That's why I got it. So know where the weaknesses are.
You don't need to tell people that no one else applied.
No one else applied.
Just tell them everybody was afraid.
Trade and technical education. I got in the Des News. They put my face in there. It was great. I peaked at that point.
That was your peak.
That was the peak. And then I got to this show, and I haven't quite got over that peak quite yet.
Well, top of the class tomorrow night, and someone who I do not believe has reached their peak will be LJ Martin. BYU will find a way, even against a physical front of Stanford, who knows that the run game's coming from BYU. And Stanford has size and physicality in the trenches. Trust me, I get it. That's what will make it even more impressive. LJ Martin will find a way to be top of the class by the end of the night.
What does that look like?
To me, it's just eclipsing 100 yards rushing.
Yeah, I think so too.
100 yards rushing for LJ Martin. Good enough against Stanford to be top of the class. I don't even care if he scores a touchdown because if he's got over 100, BYU will find other ways to get the ball into the end zone. There are enough weapons around.
Yeah.
We're talking about a guy that rushed for a career high in 1/2. I know it was Portland State. Hey, trust me, I know. But if LJ can rush for half of that in 1/2, that would still be 65 yards and give him a good chance to go over 100 for the game. I feel like BYU has to establish the run and wear Stanford down. Late in the game, BYU pulls away. LJ Martin getting tough first downs. I think he's
running
top of the class
Chase Roberts.
Chase,
hilarious. Get out of the way.
Shove him out of the way.
He hit him pretty hard. It was funny. Yeah, I put LJ down as well. I think LJ, the former Stanford commit, ironically enough, days after BYU beat Stanford, David Shaw says, I'm done, kind of that night. Boom, LJ Martin, a couple weeks later, is a BYU Cougar, which was pretty cool. So, yeah, I have LJ, going for a 100, going for at least a touchdown. Perhaps Isaiah Glasker with maybe a pick. If he has a sack, a forced fumble, like he stuffs the stat sheet, maybe he has a touchdown. Who knows? Isaiah's athletic enough to pretty much do anything on defense. It could be him, too. So, we'll see. But I think BYU's offense is going to be the thing that wins the game for BYU. Yet, I think defensively, it's just going to be hard for Stanford to score against this BYU defense. Not to mention BYU's excellent special teams. I just think BYU's well-rounded. And I'm excited to see every single second of every snap this season because this BYU football team is getting us pretty excited about what it could be. And what does Bear Bachmeier do against a tougher defense? Now, is Stanford the toughest defense BYU's going to face? No, probably one of the weaker defenses, frankly. So, can Bear have a good game where his efficiency is good? He takes care of the ball. Let's see him a little more in the intermediate and deep routes, what that looks like for him passing down the field. I'm excited to watch it. So, yeah, I agree. LJ, perhaps Isaiah Glasker too.
BYU is well-rounded is a phrase that we uttered on several occasions last season. I hope that continues through the 2025 campaign. That takes us to our next question. And you may have already answered this partially, Jarom. Where does BYU hold the biggest advantage over Stanford tomorrow night?
Everywhere. There's not a place where I say Stanford's better than BYU. Not a single place. The only thing they might do better is they have Andrew Luck as the GM. It's like, oh, Andrew Luck. Everyone knows Andrew Luck.
Their yearly endowment is where I would go.
That's pretty good. Yeah, the endowment of Stanford.
That's the advantage that Stanford has over BYU.
Congratulations. That's great. Also the advantage, mascot, BYU has an animal. You have a color? Is that what it is? It's not the bird.
Well,
it's the color, right, of Cardinal? That's what it is, right?
Yes.
It's the color. It's not Louisville. The Cardinals.
A tree?
It's a singular color. I would say advantage BYU. Cosmo, a million things. No, on the field, there's not a place where I go, Stanford's better BYU. Not a single place. I think BYU dominates this game.
Sure, but what's the biggest?
Defensively, BYU is going to just, I think, dominate.
That is the biggest advantage.
I don't know that Stanford's going to be able to run the rock like they want to. And if they cannot, they will not do anything.
Stanford doesn't have Jay Hill as their defensive coordinator.
They used to have Lance Anderson. Speaking of members of the church, DCs.
Capable. He's no longer there.
One time he got me some tickets to a game back in 2017
Very cool.
against UCLA.
They don't have Jay Hill, and they don't have the continuity of the players that are playing in Jay Hill's defense in year 3 of him being in charge. We have heard, you just said it again, how in the world does Stanford score against BYU? What do they do? Outside of BYU turning it over in precarious positions deep in their own territory and Stanford having some momentum and
massive mistakes,
being able to be opportunistic, or there's a scoop and score or a pick six or something like that, heaven forbid. I don't see how Stanford lines it up and has a sustained drive that ends in a touchdown against BYU's defense. Maybe they get into field goal range.
Or maybe they do it once, but I don't see them doing it 3 or 4 times to win the game.
And the adjustments that Jay Hill typically makes after the first 2 drives, chef's kiss. Mwah. Beautiful.
I know we're referencing last week. It's our only data for the season, and it's Portland State. We all understand sort of the caveats here. But after the first 2 drives, BYU gave up 4 or 5 yards. We're not saying that's going to happen against Stanford.
It's insane.
This is a better Stanford team. No one's questioning that. But I just believe in the defense. And I think we didn't notice Keanu Tanuvasa a ton last week. I think we're going to notice him this week. We really will. And we're going to notice that front 7.
And just maybe he opened things up for JT, John Taumapeu, to have a bigger game.
Perhaps.
You're so worried about doubling Keanu.
Yeah.
Other guys can get in and wreak havoc.
Yeah. I think this is going to be a fun watch. I really do. And again, my stated goal for Brigham Young University's intercollegiate football team is to win by more than 1 point than Utah did against UCLA. So I would like a 34-point win.
That's the A-plus performance?
Instead of a 33.
If you win by 34,
A-plus would be like a 42-3 over Stanford.
Okay,
that would be
39-point win?
Something, just you're double the margin. Look, just cover. Play well, take care of the football. Bears show us some stuff. Defense play well. Bye week, ECU.
Our question of the day, in the spirit of classes starting at BYU, what would a passing grade look like for BYU football against Stanford? At Jimmy Chesh chimes in on X. Good to hear from Jimmy. 2-touchdown win. Covering the 20.5 would be sweet, but 10-plus point victory is passing.
Is that enough given kind of where Stanford is and where BYU is? It
depends on how that happens. Like if BYU's up, let's say 31-10 with 2 minutes to go, and Stanford gets a garbage touchdown with 15 seconds left and it's 31-17, is anybody really going to care? It's like, It might affect some voters who just look at the final score.
If you want to get ranked, you need to blow out Stanford.
But again, it's all
but also getting
situational.
Ranked obedience. Getting ranked right now doesn't really matter that much. It does in a couple weeks. You need to start that momentum.
At Kip Kint on X, a clean game in all 3 phases and a 21-plus point victory over a woeful ACC team. Okay?
I almost barely acknowledge that they're in the ACC. I just think it's so dumb that what went down with the Pac-12 and all of that. That it's like, what? They're in the ACC? That's so weird still.
We live in that reality.
Ugh, what?
Continue to weigh in on X, Facebook, and Instagram.
Miami's playing Stanford in a basketball game that's an ACC game? What is that? No, we're not used to this. Yesterday, Ross Dellinger of Yahoo Sports reported that the College Football Oversight Committee voted to support a single transfer portal window in January. This isn't official yet, but it's kind of the first step towards that. Is this a good move?
I like this for college football. And I'll say that I know that there are going to be some players, maybe a good contingent, that are frustrated that they don't have more options in the world that we now live in, which is, hey, go where you want to go, play where you want to play, find your NIL deals, find the right fit. But I do think there has to be some regulation. I don't like the post-spring football transfer portal opening because you want to know, if I'm a coach or I'm an administrator or even a teammate of a guy, and it's like, we just went through all of spring football together. We're getting ready for next season, and then you lose key pieces after spring ball. To me, that is
you have to suddenly add others.
Very frustrating. Yeah. Then you are scrambling.
Yeah.
I think this is good for college football to regulate how crazy that can be. And frankly, to help teams find better continuity and to just make a decision and go with it. Like, I I don't like the idea of, well, something weird happened in spring. I'm out of here. Okay, stick it out, learn some hard lessons, be a good teammate, be a good soldier, and then get in the portal in January next year. It's fine. I kind of want people to fight and work through adversity. And I feel like this gives athletes the opportunity to do that if there aren't multiple openings and they can just go whenever, wherever they please. I like some regulation. So that's a general statement, but I think it is good for college football just to bring some solidarity to teams. Do you feel differently?
Yeah, there has to be. We can't just say, yeah, there's an unlimited amount of portal windows or there's too few. I don't know what is perfect here, but one of the issues still is that the playoffs going on during the January window. We had Penn State's backup quarterback last year jump in the portal during the playoff, so he wasn't there for that.
That is weird.
Run. It's weird. It's weird. Are we going to start the season earlier so that the season ends and then there's the portal for everybody? You're almost punished for being great. You're in the playoff, you're advancing, and some of your players might leave. It's kind of a weird deal. I do agree that the post-spring portal should not exist. I like the idea of just after the season, you have this opportunity to jump in and you can go elsewhere because, as you mentioned, if you're a general manager or a coach, you know your guys in January. You can build with them through that whole season. Now if they're with you, they're truly with you for a year. And if it's a minimum of one, okay, great.
Okay.
But it's a whole year as opposed to like, we got you in May, you're out in December, and it was 7 months, 6 months, or maybe you come for fall camp. Maybe it's literally 4 or 5 months. We need to figure out how that schedule is going to work because it's just tricky with the playoff being so long, and it's not going to get any shorter. Like if we're going to do a 16-team playoff at some point, that's maybe the same amount of weeks, but it's just a little difficult.
Now, I'm not oblivious to the fact that sometimes administrative moves happen in the spring. Maybe your coach gets fired in February or March.
Right, that's different.
There are exceptions granted for players in those situations.
Yeah.
Because I know some BYU fans are saying, well, BYU wouldn't have Bear Bachmeier and Tiger Bachmeier if they didn't have the later transfer window.
Correct.
But their coach did get fired, and so I believe they're granted extra leeway.
Yes.
And that should, and I believe will continue.
Yes. But for the general rule.
Yes. Yes. All right. Let's keep this thing rolling. Football weekend awaits.
Coming up Saturday night, 8 Eastern, pregame BYUtv, BYU Radio, game on ESPN, BYU Radio, postgame on BYU TV, and BYU Radio.